Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to all my Muslim brothers and sisters. You are all welcome to AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH service where we teach about AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH. Inshallah, in today's class we shall be discussing about the types of Ruqya and their attributes. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell so you won't miss any of these classes. Welcome back to AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH service. What are the types of Ruqya? There are two types of Ruqya. The first one is AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH, which is legitimate healing method which are not prohibited in Islam. The second one is AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH, which is illegitimate healing method which are prohibited in Islam. AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH is a legitimate healing method which is not associated with any forms of shirk or haram. AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH is an Islamic traditional healing method which involves recitation of Quran, Almighty Allah's names and His attributes, and other prophetic dua and supplications. AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH also involve prophetic medicine such as honey, habbatu sauda, and zaytun. AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH are healing practices and remedies that are based on the teachings and practices of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as it was recorded in the Hadith. These remedies and practices are believed to have been revealed by Almighty Allah through Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. These remedies and practices are usually used to cure both physical ailments and spiritual ailments, such as evil eye, black magic, bad dreams, and sihr. Not all healing methods can be considered as AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH. The Islamic scholars have compiled 3 conditions which an healing method has to align with before it can be considered as AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH. These are the conditions. Number 1, the healing method must be based on the teachings and the practices of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, such as recitation of Quran verses and Almighty Allah names and His attributes, and other prophetic duas and supplications. Number 2, the recitation must be in Arabic language or a language that is understood by people. This means when you are practicing Ruqya, the language you are using to make your dua or supplication must be in Arabic language. You must not use any illegitimate incantation or recitation. This is prohibited in Islam and it is haram because it is considered as the act of the magicians. When invoking their gods and their idols, they usually recite illegitimate incantation which people doesn't understand. Number 3, the Ruqy and the patient must believe the Ruqya being done has no benefits by itself, but the benefits and the cure are from Almighty Allah. This means the Ruqy and the patient must rely on Almighty Allah. This is at-tawakkul. The Ruqy and the patient must rely on Almighty Allah. They don't have to rely on their recitations because cure is from Almighty Allah. Almighty Allah is Ash-Shafi. The healer is the one that can cure all ailments. These are the conditions which an healing method has to align with before it can be considered as AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH. The second type of Ruqya is AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH, illegitimate healing method. This is an healing method which is associated with shirk and haram. The act of practicing these types of healing method is sinful and it can lead to destruction for individual because it is associated with politism. These are the attributes of AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH, the attributes of illegitimate healing method which are prohibited in Islam. Number 1 is it involves shirk. It involves politism. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, La ba'sa bil-ruqya ma lam takun shirkan. There is no harm in healing as long as it does not associate with any forms of shirk. And AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH is associated with shirk. So it is haram to practice these types of healing method. Number 2, seeking refuge from the jinn. This is totally haram. Number 3, seeking assistance from the magicians is also haram. Number 4, recitation of illegitimate incantation, which people doesn't understand. This contradicts the 3 conditions which Islamic scholars mention that an healing method has to align with before it can be considered as AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH. Number 5, using of charms and talisman. All these are also haram. Number 6, wearing of an amulet. It is haram. Number 7, slaughtering an animal such as dog or cow for the demons or the idol. This is also haram. Number 7, invoking the names of gods and idols when practicing ruqya. This is totally haram. Number 9 is using of haram to cure an ailment such as drinking of alcohol or eating of pork. We all know this is haram and it is totally prohibited in Islam. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, Inna Allah lam yaj'al shifa'akum fima harrama alaykum. This hadith was narrated by Salma radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, Allah did not put your cure in what he made haram to you. This hadith makes it clear to us that everything Almighty Allah made haram for us, He doesn't put our cure there. He doesn't put our cure in it. Everything which is haram, Almighty Allah doesn't put our cure in it. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, also said in another hadith, he said, Inna Allah anzala da wa dawa وَجَعَلَ لِكُلِّ دَاءٍ دَوَاءً فَتَدَاوَوا وَلَا تَدَاوَوا بِحَرَامٍ. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, Almighty Allah has sent down both the disease and the cure, and He has appointed a cure for every disease. So treat yourself medically, but use nothing unlawful. This hadith make it clear to us that Almighty Allah has sent down cure for every disease. He has sent that cure for every disease. So don't cure yourself with haram items or haram stuffs. Don't cure yourself with illegitimate stuffs which is prohibited in Islam, such as using of alcohol and pork. It is prohibited. Alcohol is totally prohibited in Islam, because Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, also said in another hadith, he said, Kullu muskirin haramun wa ma askara kasiruhu faqaliluhu haram. This hadith was narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, every intoxicant is unlawful, and whatever causes intoxication in large amounts, a small amount of it is also unlawful. We all know alcohol causes intoxication, so alcohol is totally haram. We can use alcohol to cure our ailments. It was also said in another hadith, أن طارق بن سويد سأل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الخمر فنهاه فقال إنما أصنعها للدواء فقال إنه ليس بالدواء ولكنه داء. Tariq ibn Suwaid asked Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, about alcohol, and Prophet Muhammad forbade him when he told him that he made it only as a medicine. And Prophet Muhammad replied him. Prophet Muhammad said, it is not a medicine. Prophet Muhammad said, alcohol is not a medicine, but is a disease. This hadith makes it clear to us that alcohol doesn't have any benefits. Even if alcohol cures your ailment at that certain time after using it, you will still experience the damages in the future. You will still experience the damages in the future, so alcohol doesn't have any benefits. Don't consume it. Don't use it to cure any ailments. Though there are some scientific medicine that contains small quantity of alcohol, consuming such medicine is not prohibited in Islam and it is not haram. Firstly, we have to understand that the alcohol that is in scientific medicine has gone through laboratory process. Such alcohol is called ethanol. Though ethanol causes intoxication if large quantity is consumed, but if small quantity of ethanol is mixed up with scientific medicine, it won't cause intoxication. And Islamic scholar said, Al-Hukmu yaduru ma'a illatihi wujudan wa adaman. This means ruling revolves around its causes, which means when we see causes, we have to apply the rule. But when we don't see the causes, we won't apply the rule. The causes here is intoxication, and the rule is haram, which means if a drug causes intoxication, we have to apply the rule, which is haram. The drug will be haram. But if a drug doesn't cause intoxication, we won't apply the rule. And the Islamic scholar said, Al-Hukmu yaduru ma'a illatihi wujudan wa adaman. Ruling revolves around its causes. If the causes is found, we have to apply the rule. But if the causes is not found, we won't apply the rule. Same thing applies to vinegar. Vinegar is not prohibited in Islam, and the origin of vinegar is alcohol. Vinegar is produced from alcohol, and it is not prohibited in Islam as long as it doesn't cause intoxication. It was said in the hadith of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم سأل أهله الأدم فقالوا ما عندنا إلا خل فدعا به فجعل يأكل ويقول نعم الأدم الخل. This hadith was narrated by Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, asked for sauce and was told that there was nothing except vinegar. He asked for it and began to eat from it, saying, how excellent is vinegar when eaten as sauce. How excellent is vinegar when eaten as udon. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, ate vinegar as it was stated in this hadith, and we all know that the origin of vinegar is alcohol. Vinegar is produced from alcohol. Is it haram? No, it is not haram. Why? Because it doesn't cause intoxication. So, how is vinegar produced? Vinegar is produced by turning alcohol into acetic acid through the action of yeast. It can be produced from juice of grapes, oranges, melons, dates, sugar, apples, and other fruits. And after then, it will be kept in a cool, dry place for 3 weeks or a month before it can be consumed. This process compresses the alcohol content to reduce the intoxication. And according to the hadith which we have recited before, where Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, forbade one of his sahabah who usually use alcohol to cure and ailments. Firstly, in this hadith, you have to understand that alcohol is pure alcohol. It is pure wine. Pure wine, which doesn't go through any laboratory process, and it causes intoxication. It is pure wine. This wine is produced from the fermentation of grapes, dates, and other fruits. This wine is najas, and it is prohibited to consume because it is intoxication. Hexanol is tahir. It is not najas, though it is prohibited to consume hexanol also, but it is not prohibited to consume hexanol if it is mixed up with scientific drug or medicine. So vinegar is not prohibited to consume as long as it does not cause intoxication. Same thing applies to scientific medicine. It is not prohibited to consume as long as it does not cause intoxication. Almighty Allah knows best. These are the attributes of illegitimate healing method which are prohibited in Islam. This is where we will stop today's class. Inshallah, in our next class, we shall be discussing about the importance of practicing AR-RUQYA ASH-SHIRKIYYAH. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell so you won't miss any of these classes. Ma'assalam.